morning, students. Today I am going to start a new chapter, and the title of that chapter is Enemy, the Enemy from the Vista's book. Let me tell you something about the brief summary of the story. And you can see here the title, the chapter number 4, The Enemy. It is written by Paul as Buck. Let me tell you that what is the outline of the story. The story is set during the Second World War, and I told you, I know that if you knowing that when the Second World War was, what was the time? So the World War, the time about the Second World War was from 1939 to 1945, and during this Second World War, there was one Japanese doctor that who finds an American prisoner of war, right, at his doorstep, and he is in a dilemma. And what is the dilemma? To be or not to be? That is, being a doctor, should he save the wounded man? And why this is a dilemma and to be or not to be, because that wounded man, this is their service to help the wounded people, to give their service to the people. But being the Japanese, should he hand over the enemy, because for them that American is an enemy for them, so should he hand over the enemy to the army? So the story is about the enemy and the dilemma of the doctor, that is the Japanese doctor. And let's start line by line explanation. Okay. Here you can see that the writer is called as Buck. Okay. Now I told you about that doctor, and the doctor's name is Dr. Sadao. उसका नाम क्या है? Dr. Sadao Hockey. Now here there is one outline that about the how is the house and where it is situated. Dr. Sadao Hockey's house was built on a spot of Japanese coast where as a little boy he had often played. So it is situated near Japanese coast where he was a very little boy. He was playing there many times. The low square stone house was set upon rocks well above a narrow beach that was outlined with bent pines, right? So that house is about the stone, and it is made out of stone and rocks, and it is there was a narrow beach near that house, and there are so many outlying bent pine trees were there. So when he was very small, he climbed that pines and with barefoot, right? Let's go like further. As a boy, Sadao had climbed the pines, supporting himself on his bare feet, as he had seen men do in South Seas when they climbed for coconuts. Right now, when he was in South Seas area, that time he had seen that the men were climbing for the coconuts as for a bare feet. Bare feet से वो climb करते हैं. So that's why he was also climbing the pine trees with bare feet, because he had seen that this is the way you can climb the tree. But this was not the thing, because this is the technique that to climb the coconut tree, that from by the barefoot you can climb it. His father has taken him often to the island of those seas, and never had he failed to say to the little brave boy at his side, "Those islands yonder, they are the stepping stones to the future for Japan." Now, here the writer is talking about the relationship between the father and the son, and you can see here that there is there is a serious relationship between father and son. There is no other jokes, and they have a serious talk whenever they ran to the seashore and that island. So one day when this boy, when this his father told this brave boy that those islands are having the stepping stones for the future of Japan. This island, this sea is the stepping stone for the Japan, for the future of Japan. Then where shall we step from them? Sadao had asked seriously. So when his father was talking about this island was these islands are the future of Japan. So then the as a child, this is the childish questions when you are very small, you don't understand this philosophical talk. But his father was talking like this. So he was asking that where shall we go from there, right? From here, where shall we go? And what about the future of Japan? Who knows? His father had answered, right? His father ने बोला, we don't know. किसको पता है? Who can limit our future? It depends on what we make it, right? No, that is the future is unlimited and it is depend on what we make it. Okay, हम कैसे हमारा future बनाते हैं, so that is dependent on it. Going further, Sadao had taken this into his mind as he did everything his father said. Okay. Now I told you that there is a serious relationship. So Sadao had taken this talk or this conversation in his mind because he does everything whatever his father told him. His father who never joked or played with him, but who spent infinite pains upon him, who was his only son, right? His father that is never do any jokes with his son, and that Sada was knowing that for their future, his father had struggled so much to give a bright future to their children. Sadao knew that his education was his father's chief concern. So, for his father, the Sadao's education was the most important thing or concern for him. For this reason, he had been sent at 22 to America to learn all could be learned of surgery and medicine. So this that his father was very much curious and very much concerned about the education. So when he was 22 years old, he was sent to America to learn the medicines or for doctory or to most probably for the surgery study. And he had come back at 30. When he was 30 years old, he came back by becoming a doctor or a surgeon. And before his father died, he had seen Sadao become famous not only as a surgeon but also as a scientist. Now here we come to know that his father had did so many struggle to give the education to his only son, and his struggle you can see that there is a result of the struggle that his father has done in the past as a result of that the son became a surgeon, and he was very famous not only as a surgeon but also as a scientist in Japan because he was perfecting a discovery which would render wounds entirely clean. He had not been sent abroad with the troops. Okay, now he was working on the discovery of render wounds entirely clean. So he was not sent abroad with the other troop with the war. Okay, जो war में जो doctors जाते हैं with the soldiers उसके साथ उसको नहीं भेजा था. Also, he knew there was some slight danger that the old general, might need an operation for a condition for which he was now being treated medically. Right now, here there was one general, and his operation was very needed, and his condition was not very good. So he has to stay back for the medical treatment of this general. And for this possibility, Sadao was was being kept in Japan. and that's why Sada was not sent with the troop with the other doctors in the war, but he was being kept in Japan. Now, going further, clouds were rising from the ocean now. The unexpected warmth of the past few days had at night drawn heavy fog from the cold waves. Now, here there is the atmosphere, that is the changing of the atmosphere. There was a heavy fog, right? जो fog हो जाता है, and cold waves were coming out from the ocean. So now watch mist hide outline of a little island near the shore and then come creeping up a beach below the house, reading around the pines. Now here because of the fog and mist, he was unable to see the outline of the island and wrapping around the pines. The pine trees he is unable to see. Then he would go into the room where Hannah, his wife, would be waiting for him with the two children. Now, after watching the outside atmosphere and it is going worst, the doctor, this, sorry, that he कहाँ पे थे? हाँ. Then so he went back to the room where Hannah here is his wife. उसकी wife है उसके पास जाता है and he had two children also that who is waiting inside the room. But at this moment, the door opened and she looked out dark blue woolen harrow over her kimono. Now here the writer is talking about the dressing style, or you can say the traditional dressing of the Japanese. Here his wife was wearing dark blue woolen harrow. Now what is harrow? Harrow, that is overcoat which is which is wear over the kimono. Kimono is a traditional cloth of Japan. Okay. She came to him affectionately and put her arm through his as he stood, smiled and said nothing. Means, she came and he was like hug and he was smile, and that is a very good relationship between husband and wife, and very tender relationship, very loving and caring, both are there. He had now here the writer is talking about the meeting of Hannah and the doctor. Okay, he had met Hannah in America. Okay, so first he met him in America, but he had waited to fall in love with her until he was sure she was Japanese. Now, this is that I told you that the title enemy is saying that, and they are considering that America and Americans are their enemy. So that's why the doctor was waiting for that to make it clear that whether this Hana is Japanese or American. And once he was clear that she is Japanese, then he proposed him. His father would never have received her unless she had been pure in her race. Right here, the writer is talking about the racism that he was knowing. The doctor was knowing that his father will not allow him to marry an American who is their enemy. He wondered often whom he would have married if he had not met Hannah. Now, sometimes he was wondering that if he didn't met Hannah, then with whom he would get married, because he was thinking that Hannah is the perfect match for him. By what luck he had found her in the most casual way, by chance literally, at an American professor's house. Now he was talking, the doctor was talking about that this was just an accidentally that I met Hannah, and this is the perfect match for me. Where he met at an American professor's house when he was studying in America. The professor and his wife had been kind people anxious to do something for their few foreign students, and the students, though bored, had accepted this kindness. Now, here the writer was talking, sorry, the doctor was talking about that American professors and his wife. Now his American professor was very kind and he was helping the foreign students. For example, this doctor is also from Japan. So Hobi Japan Sadao, the doctor Sadao was from Japan. So this American professor was helping so many foreign students, and that's why they went to the uh, American professor's house. Sadao had often told Hannah how nearly he had not gone to Professor Harley's house that night. The rooms were so small, the food so bad, the professor's wife so voluble. Voluble means so talkative. Now that was really very boring day because the when he went to that Harley's house, that professor's house, that rooms were so small, foods were so bad, and professor's wives were so talkative, and it was impossible to stay though Dr. Sadao was there, but he had gone, and there he had found Hannah. But he was knowing everything about the house and the atmosphere of that American professor. But still, he had gone there, and there he found the girl Hannah, a new student, and she was the new foreign student, and had felt he would love her if he were at all possible. Okay, and by seeing from both sides that he had decided that I would like to love her if she is from our race, means if she is Japanese. Okay, going further, now he felt her hand on his arm. Now this is the story that how he met, and right now Dr. Sadam was feeling the hand of around the Hannah's hand around him, around his arms, means it means that she was holding her his arm, was aware of the pleasure it gave him. Now, how it is caring and pleasure that the touch of that Hannah is very caring and pleasure that he was getting the pleasure to holding that Hannah. Even though they had been married even years to have two children, okay, they are married from many last years and having two children also. For they had not married heedlessly in America. Heedlessly means carelessly or idly. उन्होंने अमेरिका में मैरिज नहीं किया. They had finished their work at school and had come home to Japan. After completing their schooling, they came back to Japan, and in Japan, with the permission of their father, here, with the permission of their father, her father sent her the marriage had been arranged in old Japanese way. Although Sadao and Hannah had talked everything over beforehand. Okay, before their marriage, they talked everything, they discussed everything, and they got married at Japan with a traditional Japanese way. They were perfectly happy. They She laid her cheek against her arms, right? वो cheek आर्म पे रख के ऐसे आर्म पे रख के he was resting resting with the Dr. Sada. Going further, it was at this moment that both of them saw something black come out of the mist. Okay, जो fog में से जो धुआं होता है उसमें से they saw something black coming out. It was a man. After many time, after so many watching and staring at that line, they come to know that it was a man. He was flung up out of the ocean, flung. It seemed to his feet by a brigger. Okay, so it looked like that he came out of the ocean. वो ocean और जो seashore थे वहां से आया था. He staggered a few steps. Staggered means walk unsteadily. So he staggered few steps. His body outlined against the mist. His arms above his head, right? So from the outline, here you can see the picture that from the outline, because everything is wet. From the outline, he is coming out of the water, and they come to know that he is a man. Then the cold mist hid him again. Now again he was hid because of the mist. Then Hannah cried, "Who is that?" By cried means he was shouting or cried with anxiousness that who is that? She dropped Sadav's arm, and that means he dropped the hand, and both leaned over the railing of the veranda. Means leaned over means looking forward and leaning forward to know that exactly what this outline is. Now they saw him again. Again they saw him that this is the man. The man was on his hands and knees crawling. That the man was crawling on his hand and knees. Then they saw him fall on his face and lie there. Okay. Then they saw that the man was lying on a shore or on a seashore. A fisherman, perhaps Sadav said, okay, washed from his boat. And Sadav was saying that maybe this is the fisherman uh, who was washed out from his boat. He ran quickly down the step behind him. Hannah came, her wide sleeves flying. Okay. Now, after watching this, that there was some wounded and injured man. That Shadao went there. Behind them, Hannah also came, and because of that, her wide sleeve flying. Wide sleeves मैंने बोला अभी जो उसने overcoat पहना था, that was also slipped out. A mile or two away, on either side, there were fishing villages. Now, why they are saying that maybe this is a fisherman? Because there is a fishing village a mile or two away from their home or from their seashore. But here was only the bare and lonely coast, dangerous with rock. But this seashore is very dangerous with rocks and lonely, and so there will be no fishing. So they have some doubt. The surf beyond the beach was spiked with rocks because surfing is really very tough here because of the spiked beach rocks. Spiked wala jo rocks hai wo. Somehow the man has managed to come through them. He must be badly torn, and maybe so he came here. Maybe that's why he was torn out. Okay. They saw when they came toward him that indeed it was so. The sand on one side of him had already a stain of red soaking through. Okay. Now, when they went there, they saw that there was a blood, okay, stains on the sand, okay, and he is wounded. Sadav exclaimed, okay. So he said that he was injured or he was wounded. He made haste to the man who lay motionless, his face in the sand, okay. So उसने क्या देखा that the man is lying motionless. An old cap stuck to his head, soaked with sea water. Okay, उसकी जो cap थी that is wet and it is soaked with the sea water. ये मैंने अभी बताया आपको. Here in the picture you can see that he is full of wet water, and his cap is also wet and soaked in a water. This is the rocky sand. वहाँ पे थी. Okay, going further. He was in a wet rags of garments. Saddam stopped. Okay, so उसकी पूरा clothes था that was also wet. Hannah at his side and turned the man's head. They saw the face. Now he turned the face of the man so that they can see the face. And after seeing the face, a white man, Hannah whispered. Okay, उसने बोला a white man. A white man means an American. Yes, it was a white man. The wet cap fell away, and there was his wet yellow hair. Okay, उसका पूरा yellow hair था. His cap was very wet, and hair was very long, as though for many weeks it had not been cut. Upon his young and tortured face was rough yellow beard. Okay, तो उसकी पूरा डिस्क्रिप्शन यहाँ पे दिया गया है that how the man was looking. His face was bad, his cap was bad, his yellow hair, and it looks like that it is untidy, and it is not cut from many days. And upon his young and tortured face, his face has so many injuries. It means that he was tortured and was a rough yellow beard, or it is untidy and unset beard. It means that is the thing that he was tortured. He was unconscious, knew nothing that they did for him. Okay. Now this man was unconscious, that and that man was not knowing that these two people was watching them. Now Sadao remembered the wound, and with his expert fingers he began to search for it. Now Sadao was a surgeon, so with his expert finger he was moving his finger around his back to find out the wound. Blood flowed freshly at his touch. Now, when he touched the wound, the blood is oozing from the body, means you can see the flow is coming from that wound. On the right side of the lower back, and he said that on the right side of the lower back there is a deep wound. Somehow so that a gun wound that been reopened. So that he shot a gun, someone shot a gun, and that is a gun wound, and it is reopened. And why it is reopened? The flesh was blackened with powder. So before that, when he was injured and when he had a gun wound, he had put some powder on it, but because of this rock, maybe it is reopened. Sometimes not many days ago, the man had been shot and had not been tended. Tended means looked after. So this is not from so long. This is before so many days ago, and he had been shot, and he had not been given any care or any medication. It was bad chance that the rock had struck the wood, and because that he was lying at a rocky seashore, and this is a very dangerous island, and this rock had struck the wood again, and it was reopened. Oh, how he is bleeding! Hannah whispered again in a solemn voice. This very serious and concerned voice, she was telling that how he is bleeding. The mist screened them now completely, and this time of the day, no one came by. Now here you can see that this is the time of fog and dangerous mist, and this time no one can come by this seashore. It is very dangerous. The fishermen had gone home, and even with chance, Beachcomber would have considered the day at an end, because this is the time that the fishermen had already gone to their home. And if you are talking about a beachcomber, a wagon who makes a living by searching beaches for articles of value and selling them. So maybe this is not a fisherman, or this is not time for a beach comber, because this is at the end of the day. What shall we do with this man? So thou muttered. He was muttering or saying that, what shall we do with this man? But his trained hands seemed of his own will to be doing what they could do, stanch the fearful bleeding. Okay? Because he is very trained hands, and they can say that what we should do to stop this flow of blood. So he is saying that he packed the wound with the sea moss. Sea moss means one kind of seaweed, is ऐसा एक आता है seaweed that strewed the beach. That you can find to be scattered untidily over a place of area at a beach. So that he took that sea moss, one type of plant, and put it in the wound. The man moaned with pain in his stupor, but he did not awaken. Now the man, when he put that sea moss into that wound, that man was crying, mourning. Mourning means crying in pain, but he was not awakened, right? State, because he was stupor. Stupor means he was in a state of unconscious. That's why he did not awaken. Uh, he did not awaken. The best thing that we could do would be to put him back in the sea. The only thing that the Sadav said or answering himself, he was telling himself that there is only one way, to put him back into the sea. Now that the bleeding was stopped for the moment, and he stood up and dusted the sand from his hat. Okay. Now what he is thinking, that there is only one way to put him into the sea, and after some times when his bleeding was stopped, he stood up by himself, dusted his sand by his own hand, and he can go. Yes, undoubtedly that would be best, Hannah said steadily. Now Hannah is also saying yes to the idea and to the option that the Dr. Sada was telling, but she continued to stare down at the motionless man. But he was staring and gazing that the man that he was in a morning. If we sheltered a white man in our house, we should be arrested, and if we turned him over a prisoner, he would certainly die. Sadao said. Now here you can see the dilemma, or you can see the to be or not to be questions arises in the mind of Sadao. So the Sada was saying that if we give him a shelter out here, or white man, shelter a man, if we give him a shelter of white man in our house, we will be arrested. And if we turn him over a prisoner, or if we give him to the prisoner or to the police, he would be certainly die. The kindest thing would be to put him back into the sea, Hannah said. Now I told you that both are very caring and loving couple. So they said that this is the kindest thing, that because they don't want to do this two option. So this is the kindest thing to put him back into the sea. But neither of them moved. But nobody moved to put him back into the sea. They were staring with curious repulsion upon the inert figure. Repulsion means a strong dislike, and inert means motionless. They have decided to do this, but their inner self was from inside. Do not have any feeling to put him back into the sea, right? Repulsion means disliking. They are disliking, though this is their opinion, their option, but they are disliking their inner, uh, disliking from inside. That is the upon the inert figure. What is he? Hannah whispered. That who is that guy? There is something about him that looks American. Okay, so from the face they come to know that he looks like American. Sadav said. He took up the battered cap. उसने जो torn and worn out जो cap थी, so he took out that cap. Yes, they're almost gone. Was the faint lettering. A sailor. Okay, now they are saying that he is a sailor. He said from an American warship, and maybe he came from the American warship. He spelled it out, US Navy. The man, okay, now he also spelled it out, which is written US Navy. So they are confirmed that this is the American Navy soldier or sailor. The man was a prisoner of war, and he is the prisoner of war. He has escaped. Hannah cried softly, and this is why he is wounded. Means Hannah is saying that how he was wounded, because he tried to escape from the prison, and that's why he is wounded. In the back, Sadao agreed, and Sadao said, "Yes, you are right. Maybe." He hesitated, looking at each other. Then Hannah said with resolution, okay, they were looking at each other that what to do, because they are in a dilemma to be or not to be. Come, come, are we able to put him back into the sea? If I am able, are you? Sarah asked. Okay, that that the Hannah is saying that can can we put him back into the sea? If I am able, are you? If I can put him back into the sea, do you want to come and help me to put him into the sea? No, Hannah said, but if you can do it alone, okay? No, I don't think that I can help it out, but if you can do it alone, अगर आप अकेले कर सकते हो तो करो. Sadao hesitated again. The strange thing is, he said that if the man were whole, I could turn him over to the police without difficulty. I can nothing for him. He is my enemy. All Americans are my enemy, and he is only a common fellow. You see how foolish his face is. But since he is wounded, now here the Dr. Sadao was trying to say about that inner dilemma, that what he is thinking. The doctor is saying that if the man is not wounded and he is just injured, I would give him to the police without any difficulty. Okay, I care nothing for him. I don't care for this man because he is my enemy. All Americans are my enemy. He is only a common fellow. Okay. Right now he is just thinking that if he is not wounded, that I give him to the police, as all Americans are my enemy. You see how foolish his face. Now you can see that how foolish his face is. But since he is wounded, now he stopped here. There is a two dot dot dot. Now that is why he's saying that he is wounded. That's why I have to do something as a doctor. You also can throw him back to the sea, Hannah said. And Hannah said that it is really very bad if we throw him back into the sea. Then there is only one thing to do. We must carry him into the house. Okay. So there is a three option. One option, if it is if they are a patriotic and if they are thinking that all Americans are my enemy, then they have to hand over to the police. And the second option is that they have to throw him back to the sea. So the both from both option they said that no. So Hannah says there is only one option is remaining, and which was that option? And there is only one option, that we must carry him into the house, and which means we must give shelter to this American sailor. But the servant, Sadao inquired, when the Sadao was asking that what about the servants if they saw this? We must simply tell them that we intend to give him to the police, as indeed we must, Sadao. We must think of the children and your position. It would endanger all of us if we did not give this man over a prisoner of war. Okay. Now, what the Sadao was telling that we are very clear and we will simply tell them that we will definitely give him to the police. Indeed, we must. We will definitely will give him to the police. We must think of about our children and our position, because if we'll shelter him in our house, then we will become we will have so much endangered from the Japanese police that nobody will trust us, and our position and our children have to has had to follow so many troubles if we shelter him. So certainly we will give him to the prisoner of war. Certainly, Sadao agreed. I will not think of doing anything else. There is nothing in mind to do except to give him back. Thus agreed together, they lifted the man. He was very light, like a fowl that had been half starved for a long time until it is only feathers and skeleton. Fowl means hen, right? Here, the Dr. Sada was talking about that when they were lifting the man, it was he was very foul. Foul means like a hen, and which type of hand? Very heavy. He is not very heavy. He is very light. And what type of hand? He is just like a half staff for a long time, or he is just like a skeleton and full of feathers and skeleton. Okay. So here, so his arms hanging, they carried him up to the step and into the side door of the house. Okay. The door opened into a passage, and down the passage they carried the man towards an empty bedroom. It had been the bedroom and Sadav's father. So they took him to the bedroom, and that bedroom was Sadav's father's bedroom. And since his father's death, it had not been used. After his father's death, the bedroom was not used. So he took that man to that father, into that father's bedroom. They laid the man on the deeply matted floor. On the floor, they put that man. Everything here had been Japanese to please the old man, who would never in his own home sit on the chair or sleep in foreign bed. Hana went to everything in this room are Japanese. Okay, because his father and everyone is against of this America. So everything is Japanese. Hannah went to the wall cupboard and slid back to a door, took out a soft quilt, and she hesitated. The quilt was covered with flower silk and the lining was pure white skin. So the bedsheet, or you can say the rajai, that to cover the man he took out, and that was a flowery silk, and lining was pure white silk. वो white color की really lining थी. So I would like to stop here. I will continue in my next video. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.